we had a week. There's a lot of news to talk about, so let's get right into it. Coming off the story we had last week, I thought this was going to be ugly and torrid affair, but apparently it's all over with. And again, much like in all other things, the legend is much better than the actual story. Paige released an official statement via her Instagram last night or the other day. I don't remember the timeline exactly, but she basically said that she is not leaving the WWE. All those rumors were false. And her...
we said before, they were all rumors until we hear some concrete. It's like you don't want to... You take it with a grain of salt.
I took everything with a grain of salt because the way everybody was reacting, it had gone from she's leaving the WWE, she's never going to do wrestling again, she's going to retire for 3 years and then go back and take independent bookings, all da 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 da. Alberto Del Rio is now going to be working her parents' promotion and all this other stuff. He's coming to TNA. We heard every manner of rumor and hyperbole issued on this on that matter. But again, our version was much more interesting than what actually happened because Paige, in her statement, confirms that she was suspended. But it wasn't for anything due to a failed drug test. It was a clerical error. She wasn't at her home when the drug test was going to be administered, so she had to go to the facility where it was, and she didn't make it there on time, so that resulted in her failing the drug test, I guess, because she didn't make it there on time. Convenient story. Again, if this was the case all along, why didn't she come out immediately and say this? I think the fact that she was silent on this makes me a little suspicious, just a little suspect, but, here we are. Now we have something to talk about on a podcast.
Yes.
I never really fully believed that she was actually going to leave the company. I think, I said it before, I think the WWE can make her much more of a star than she could on her own, or that the WWE has already made her.
Mm-hmm.
With that WWE brand, she has access to so much more platforms that would not be available to her solo career. So WWE, staying with WWE was always the right move. She was not like her main squeeze, Alberto Del Rio, who did have options elsewhere and can make a much more of a living, or much more comfortable work living outside of WWE.
Yep.
So it's over with. It's over with. Paige is going to stay. She said she's going to return to Raw once her suspension and injury is over with. And we'll see you from there, how she fits into the new women's division plans. Mm-hmm. I would certainly, after all this, you would assume creative would be stupid not to use her in a key angle and not just relegate her to, backseat jobber duty, essentially. So we'll see going forward. Now we're going to pivot outside of it because it was a huge weekend in combat sports. We had a UFC pay-per-view this weekend, a major UFC pay-per-view in Cleveland. That, in my opinion, did not live up to its expectations. We'll talk about a little bit that later on. But the big main headline coming out of it for most wrestling fans, and this is a wrestling-centric podcast, was the debut and performance of CM Punk in the UFC. For those of you who saw it, I'm sure that you've probably seen the internet video by now because it can be summarized in a simple internet video. A quick 2-minute performance for Punk. What did we really expect? I know I was very hopeful and very optimistic of his ability going into it, but I always, thought in the back of my head that probably going to go this way. It's what happens when a more experienced fighter fights a less experienced fighter, no matter of age difference, no matter of any sort of skill difference. If you've been training and working at this craft for longer than your opponent, you have a better chance of winning, I guess you could say. At least in those first 2 years. Punk didn't embarrass himself. He didn't get knocked out in his first performance, but I mean, he was very clearly outmatched technically as far as his skill set wise. And Gall just smothered him and pounded him out, and eventually did get the submission. Now, Punk was able to get out of some of those positions early on. He didn't just concede standing position and then get battered into oblivion or tapped from the first possible
position.
Position. He did try to do his best to survive for as long as he could, and that choke was enough to put him out. And you could see the visible frustration and the tears and the emotion in his eye. It was a hard fought fight, and it was the end of a long journey for him that didn't go out quite the way he thought it was. Now, some of the more, dare I say, cynical members of the wrestling community are going to be happy with the fact that he was, visibly upset emotionally and somewhat bloodied by the fight. But I think what we all could take away from him, and especially from his post-fight inspirational speech, that if you want to do something, the only thing that's stopping you is you, and the worst thing possible you could do is not do it at all. So if you really want to do something, whether it's anything in this life that apart from fly, throwing wings and flying, if it's within anything within the reason, nothing is really stopping you from achieving that. And I will say this, as far as an athletic achievement, for Punk to go 0 to 2 years and fight at the highest level of a sport is pretty fucking impressive.
Yep.
Even Brock Lesnar, the great god that he is, Brock Lesnar, fought nobody tomato cans in amateur promotions before moving on up to the UFC and fighting Frank Mir, where he eventually ultimately lost to. But
then got his win back at UFC 100.
That he did. So I'm not comparing Punk to Brock directly. I'm just saying that's what Brock did. That's what Punk did. Dana White even said it himself in the post-fight press conference, pretty much echoing what everybody was saying, that Punk needs more fight experience under his belt before he's going to step back up into the UFC. He's a good prospect for the UFC to have, but I think if the UFC had some sort of deal with a smaller promotion where they could send a fighter out on loan for a few fights to get some experience under him, I think that's what they need to do with Punk. Punk needs to fight some people his own skill level and then move right on up to that. I look forward to see what's going to happen next with Punk. He certainly said that that's not going to be the end of his MMA journey. It's the most fun he's ever had in his life.
Yes. Well, second most fun I ever had.
Second most fun night he had in his life, apart from marrying AJ. So we'll see what the MMA future holds for him. But he's going to be 38. Who knows if he could take another year or so of amateur fights and then get back into the UFC. I really think the UFC thing is really, I think, kind of over for him. There's some part of me that's really going to believe that realistically probably isn't going to happen again, because there is just nobody else in the UFC that would be at Punk's skill level. Unless they're going to bring in somebody else, another Mickey Gall type fighter, for him to fight at 40 years old, or however old he would be when that fight takes place after he has amateur fights. And I don't even, who knows if those amateur fights would even go his way. So I really think that this is more than likely the end of CM Punk's UFC career. It was a hell of a ride, certainly. A roller coaster year and a half, 2 years from when that announcement was made.
And Jerry Briscoe definitely said it best. At least he can say, he doesn't have to say what if. He can say, oh well, not what if.
Exactly. He did it. He failed, and now we're gonna move on, and I'll see what's next for Punk. The Punk story was only one bullet point in what was a weird, strange night at UFC. Fabricio Werdum and Travis Brown. I think that fight, after Travis Brown broke his finger or whatever it was that he appeared to have injured, should not have been allowed to continue. That fight should have been stopped right then and there. I don't know if that's the Ohio State Athletic Commission's oversight or what the UFC official doctor had influence over the referee, but I think a fighter breaks his finger and essentially just calls a timeout. You're not allowed to call a timeout in MMA. Like, if Werdum should have just continued to kick his head off, which hats off to Fabricio Werdum for trying some video game maneuver shit.
Yes.
As the opening move of a fight, trying to kick Travis Brown's head off, and actually succeeded. He actually landed the kick too, which was even more impressive. But after Brown essentially had to call a timeout to get his finger readjusted, the fight should have been stopped. There's no way he should have been allowed to continue. And even what we got, the fight that we got in the continuation, didn't really even warrant it. He was fighting way too defensively. There was no at any point in time did Werdum look like he was ever in any danger after that moment. And Werdum earns his win. Then we go to the main event of the evening, which was a very, very bizarre main event. Alistair Overeem versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, where Stipe Miocic retained in stunning, thrilling, spectacular fashion, getting out of a early guillotine choke to secure a TKO victory. It looked like after that guillotine choke, Alistair Overeem had no answer. Like that was his game plan: try and wrestle Miocic to the ground, get the choke. And once he escaped that choke, he had nothing for it, and that was literally just letting him tee off on him until he put the lights out, and he put the lights out in epic fashion. So much so that I don't believe Alistair Overeem was even fully conscious, playing with a full deck of cards there, when he gave the post-fight interview and he accused Stipe Miocic of tapping out during the teen joke that he had him in, and which prompted Joe Rogan to cue up the instant replay both on the Jumbotron and to the live pay-per-view audience going around the world. To wit, there was clearly no tap, nothing even resembling a tap. The only time Miocic's arm even touches Overeem's arm was when he was moving his head from the submission maneuver that I could not see anywhere where a fighter of Overeem's experience. Overeem's had almost 50 professional MMA fights in his career. Would know what it feels like when someone's tapping out. That would not feel like a tap out to me if someone was touching me. And it really brought up the question, should we be interviewing people who literally just got knocked out?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan really didn't want to make Alistair Overeem look like a fool, but, he made him look like a complete idiot.
Yeah, it's like, you're gonna, we got the footage right here, man. Fuck.
Yeah, I think it was that point in time, Alistair Overeem knew he fucked up by saying that. That was the only thing he could say. I thought I had him. And then he tries to, defend it by, saying Cleveland, thank you very much. And Cleveland just was not really that from him after they after he trounced their hero verbally.
Mm-hmm.
A very lackluster pay-per-view, I think, by UFC. Not nearly following up their last event that they had, and they not saying they're in trouble, but yeah, they need to maybe start having two champions per pay-per-view now, just to hedge their bets. If one title fight is a dud, maybe another title fight will be good. Who knows? I'm just spitballing. We still got some various rumors are flying about on what's going to be the card for the first New York. Donald Cerrone, Lawler was going to be scheduled. Now they're pulling out. Conor McGregor's been rumored to be dangling a few opponents. People were talking George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor for the New York show. I mean, I believe that's a super fight, and that seems to be McGregor's MO right now, is taking those big money super fights. But if I'm McGregor's camp and the George St. Pierre thing is a legitimate offer, I'm not taking that offer. I'm seeing what else is out there, because I don't want to get I don't want, as Joe Rogan put it, to get wrestle fucked for 3 rounds and then lose. Yeah, no thanks. I bet George St. Pierre whispers French pillow talk in his opponent's ears while he's doing that too. I would just say, Conor, that's not something good. He is way bigger than you, way stronger than you, that's a skill set you don't want to. He would have one round to do it, and it's again, as we've seen now, McGregor becomes gassed pretty quickly in fights. He would have that one round where he would have to hit him with one of those, movement counter punches to really hit GSP, to really put him out, because if that fight were to happen, George St. Pierre just rides him for 3 rounds basically, and completely makes him look silly. And we're going to be all bored by that in New York, and we don't like that, so we want to see a good fight if we're going to see McGregor fight at all. So we'll see what we're going to hear, what we're going to have for that. I definitely
205, right?
205, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Backlash now, because I think Backlash... Yep. I have mixed feelings on Backlash. Nick, what do you think about Backlash? And then we'll talk about some individual matches on a whole, but just on the card as a whole.
I thought it was a good show. And it was crazy because this was the first time we got to hear Mauro Ranallo call an entire pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And the commentary I thought was great. The fact that there were no fuck finishes the entire card.
Here's the thing. While it was a solid card from top to bottom, at no point in time did I ever feel like I was watching a pay-per-view event. And maybe that's just because now it's been so long now with the WWE Network that it just doesn't have the same effect, I guess, as it would when you were watching it, when you're pressing a remote on your remote to order the pay-per-view. Wrestling itself was not so bad. We did get a lot of good matches. Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin had a pretty good match on the pre-show.
That went soft.
A lot of people are talking about that match on the pre-show. I think do well to yourself as a wrestling fan to watch that. 2 guys that are in a kind of creative
slump, and then there's no direction.
Creative malaise right now. No real wasteland. No direction for them to go.
Yeah.
They had to put on a good match. The women's match was good. Not great as people are making it out to be. The women's match was all right. It had its moments. It was pretty good.
Zandig at one part, though.
Well, look, I will definitely say whoever's doing Alexa Bliss's hair and makeup, they found something that worked for her, and if they way to take Alexa Bliss from one level to a whole new level, and it looks like they're running with her going forward, because we do have a new SmackDown heavyweight champion, and we were completely wrong in our prediction. Boy, were we ever.
As far as the women's match, yes.
As far as the women's prediction, SmackDown Women's Heavyweight Champion is now Becky Lynch.
God, I'm like, it was as soon as Nikki Law got pinned, it's like, okay, Becky's winning this thing. I was like, came down to Becky.
Yeah, that was the only other feasible. That was the only other feasible result after Nikki Bella was eliminated. Mm-hmm. I was really kind of surprised by that because I really thought Nikki was the shoe-in victor for that match.
I will say Otunga goes up a few points in my book just because of the Last Dragon reference.
I guess, again, that's why maybe David Otunga is the reason why I don't feel like there's anything really special about these SmackDown shows. I just really felt that even though we had 2 new champions crowned and a really good match with on the pre-show, that this was just anything more than just a regular episode of SmackDown on a Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday Night SmackDown.
Sunday Night SmackDown. AJ Styles is your new world heavyweight champion, though. I mean...
Oh, man.
The Means... Say what you will about the Means, the way you're doing, he didn't win it clean.
He's a heel. What do you expect?
Exactly. He also won the IWGP heavyweight title the first time through less than honorable means. Mm-hmm. So this follows a pattern of AJ Styles winning big titles through dubious means. I am fine with it.
He was announced as the face that runs this place. I love it.
Yeah, it is. Again, it's amazing how far we've come in 9 months for AJ Styles from being the co-main event of Wrestle Kingdom to now
debuting at the Royal Rumble, wrestling Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, having 2 great matches with Roman, going over John Cena clean at SummerSlam. It's like
it's been an incredible 9 months, and winning the WWE Championship was the icing on top of that.
We got Slater and Rhino as tag champions. I was a little wrong about American Alpha getting involved with that final match, but the Usos definitely need a freaking Titantron change and everything. At least
they needed a refresh. I admit that now with another being heel, but I just don't get the Usos attire. Like, now they're just dressed like guys that you would see at the club.
Jimmy looks like Roman.
They look like fuckboys. They literally look like fuckboys. Like, they look like the guys that hit on your girlfriend when you're at the club, when you're going to the bathroom or buying a drink, or just general douchey guys that you see at bars and clubs when you're in your 20s and 30s. I don't know if that's the part of the gimmick, but they just...
At least, it's something different out of them. They're very vicious, though. And that is difficult. They're very vicious.
Moving on, this is kind of a Roman thing. There has been a lot of people now, and I've seen it on multiple wrestling forums and Twitter posts. It's these people that say, oh, well, the Usos have been turned heel. Now's the time to turn Roman Reigns. Now, to wit, I reply, oh, really? Tell me how your territory's doing. Okay.
Exactly.
That's all I'm going to say. Okay? The second you could book a territory that's as successful or... the second, Gabe Sapolsky. That's the only person not working for the WWE that's qualified to say that. Not Meltzer, not anybody else. Gabe. That's it. Nobody else is allowed to say that. The power of Gabe. Drink it in, man.
Austin once said that, to be a great babyface, you got to be a great heel, and, he's floated that idea of turning Roman, but who knows? At this point, like, Roman, he's not even really he's not in the main event. He's not really, in a sense, the face of Monday Night Raw.
He's just a guy.
Show.
He's a guy in the upper main.
Yeah. Because, well, it is the Kevin Owens show.
It is absolutely the Kevin Owens show right now.
So, yeah. Again, AJ Styles is your WWE champion. And somewhere right now, Dixie Carter's on suicide watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a very good weekend for Dixie Carter. I think,
and the week only got worse because, well, pivot into the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, let's go right on to it because WWE kicked off or concluded, their first annual Cruiserweight Classic last night.
Yeah, I did finish watching it earlier this morning because my internet was being a dick.
Huge dick.
Yeah, just.
And the final four was Grand Metalik versus Zack Sabre Jr. and TJ Perkins versus Zack Sabre Jr. The internet has been salty among salty because their two favorites did not win.
Yeah, which I thought that was my final. It was gonna be Zack Sabre and Professor Kota Ibushi, and well,
it was not.
No, I was definitely surprised by it, and there's also a great tag match with Gargano and Ciampa against Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander. But, I mean, the final, it was just like just great it was a great night of wrestling. We get into the final, TJ Perkins, Grand Metalik, and all of a sudden, here comes Based H. And it's like, okay, what the hell's going on? So here comes Triple H, and I'm thinking, he's going to announce the winner's going to get a shot at, the Cruiserweight title shot Clash of Champions. No! New title, and that final match was for the championship.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen.
For some reason, I guess I'm not. This is why I'm not Based H. Like, this is why
you didn't.
I thought too small.
You didn't connect that at all? That's what's going to be? Come on, bro.
No, I was thinking way too fucking small.
You honestly never made that connection? Honestly?
I think I thought of the idea, but it's like, for some reason, I thought they were going to have the title, like, it was going to be on pay-per-view.
Nope.
I was
it's like WWE things, man. The inaugural, it always made sense. It always made sense to me to make the inaugural Cruiserweight Classic winner the Cruiserweight champion. That just makes sense. Now it's good to see a guy like TJ Perkins who has worked on the indie indie circuit for a while finally get that kind of recognition.
Yep.
Look, the reason why Zack Sabre Jr. and Kota Ibushi were not in the final was neither one of them were full-time WWE employees. They were essentially brought on for this experiment, what some people are calling WWE does indie wrestling. That's why they were not in the final. If this was a success, so now they're going to...
I also hadn't really kept up too hard on who was actually ended up being signed or not.
Well, it was left on the table basically for both ZSJ and Kota Ibushi that whenever they are ready to come to the WWE, the offer is on the table. I think a few other people like Cedric Alexander, they were already pretty much signed. Rich Swann.
Another one
was already signed.
Yeah, Jack Gallagher.
Gentleman Jack Gallagher was already signed.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you needed guys to carry the division. That's why the bigger names like Ibushi, Zack Sabre Jr. were added to this tournament to give weight to the internal guys that they were developing. Now it's the chance for these guys that like the Jack Gallaghers to really develop this division and try and make it a staple of the Monday Night Raw.
So yeah,
television program.
Fucking by the freaking bruising and the welts on TJ Perkins.
Oh yeah, man. Those guys. Yeah, he left a pretty big mark on them, both Ibushi and Metalik. And they put in some work on that boy's chest.
And they had,
that's for sure.
And that was a great semifinal, great final. And I loved how, and I didn't even notice it until partway into the quarters that those matches went up to 30 minutes, and then the final was 60. So,
yeah, they had the full night of the network if they could win all night if they wanted to. All right, so now that the Cruiserweight Classic has happened, you've seen all the episodes. How good was it, and do you think that the WWE will do this again?
I think they'll definitely do it again. Like, with the caliber of the matches we had, from Gargano and Ciampa in the first round, Brian Kendrick and Kota Ibushi, Cedric Alexander and Kota Ibushi. You had, the different moments where Brian came in, him and Kendrick hugged it out. Like, just everything about it, like, it just seemed to get better. And it's like, this also put, because at least half these guys I've never even heard of. So getting to see kind of what they can do, especially someone like a Zack Sabre, who I heard a lot about, seeing what he can do, seeing more of Kota Ibushi, seeing guys like Tajiri come back, seeing these young guys like Noam Dar and Jack Gallagher and, a little more Rich Swann. It's like, they'll do this again, and next year there'll be a whole other crop of cruiserweights, because I think Ricochet is going to be coming in soon.
We'll see. I think we'll let the speculation go on and on and on about who will be in Cruiserweight Classic 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
But I think it was a very successful experiment. We'll see how the next year goes.
Roddy Strong maybe in the next one? Because he's been signed?
I think Roderick Strong might be a little bit above the Cruiserweight limit, but, maybe. We'll see. We shall see. It's going to be very interesting to see how the next year goes. I think that's going to really depend on if there is a Cruiserweight Classic 2.
I think there will be. That was definitely...
It's up to guys like TJ Perkins. It's up to guys like Jack Gallagher, and maybe if Ibushi wants to forego trying to become a bigger star in Japan, to come to America and help that division grow. That will help it, but we shall see. I don't think I'm not quite ready to say that absolutely it's going to happen, and here's who's going to be in it, but I think the next year is going to go a long way to see if there's going to be a Cruiserweight Classic 2. I think it's all but certain, but let's just see how the next year goes. So,
one last thing. What did you think of the look of the new Cruiserweight title?
I thought it was pretty cool, man. I definitely liked it. It's definitely not the design I thought they were going to go with. I literally thought they were going to go with the plain WWE title, just like they are with all their other titles, just purple. But the fact that they actually went something different with it was very nice. Purple. I like the purple being the theme for the cruiserweights. That's cool.
Yep. Roddy Strong, I just looked it up. He's 212.
Okay, so maybe
Cedric Alexander. I think Cedric had 20 pounds.
Yes.
There's like another guy that dropped like 25 pounds to get to the 205. He could definitely drop 10. So.
Yeah, easily. So maybe we shall see.
Yep.
We shall see. All right. Well, that's basically then. Everything about the regular part of Slamcast. We like to end every show each week as my phone goes off because Sean's sending me messages. I forgot to mute my phone. He's probably rezzing me about Manchester United. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I won't get into that.
So here we go. Iron Sheik Tweet of the Week.
Iron Sheik Tweet of the Week.
That's where we got to go. That's how we end every show, with the words of wisdom from the world's greatest living Iranian American. And he had some interesting hot takes to say, of course, because football season is back in full effect. So there's going to be hot NFL takes. He did lend his support to CM Punk. So if you want to shit on CM Punk, remember, CM Punk has the Iron Sheik's blessing. But I think it's when Iron Sheik weighs in on national tragedies. No, I'm not going to go with that. Let's not go with that. I'm going to go with a Cowboys tweet. Pause.
Edit point?
Edit point. Yeah, no, edit point off this whole show.
That's fine.
This has not been my best show. So, Iron Sheik Tweet of the Week.
Iron Sheik Tweet of the Week.
I want to know, are you the man or are you a fucking piece of shit? No good motherfucker. Fucking bullshit! Bullshit, Hulk Hogan. I'm the rare all-American gold medal.
Yeah, no, there was many hot takes this week, but this one stuck out to me. Iron Sheik quoting famous pop songs. If I were you, I would go fuck myself too. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Iron Sheik tweet of the week.
Fucking bullshit!
See, that's so much better.
Yeah, we totally didn't have to do that over.
It was so much better.
But yeah, YouTube Gaming Pegs 27, Twitter Gaming Pegs 27, Facebook Nick Horaceck, Wrestling/MMA Revolution's Facebook group. Slamcast gets posted in there. All our wrestling news, rumors, random memes, everything.
Stuff. Mostly just memes.
Yeah. Fucking me having to stay the hell away from Facebook from Backlash because I had to make fuck money. Like I did last night for the Cruiserweight Classic, and then had to watch the rest of it this morning because my internet was being a dick, but besides the point. Yeah, we're on iTunes, people.
We're legit. We're too legit. All right, so A. Brendan All Hope on the Twitter is where you can find me. Twitch.tv/falsefinish. Facebook.com falsefinish. That's where you can see my production company. Nerd Chronicles, all that other... No, we're not Nerd Chronicles. We're the Nerd Scythe. Yeah, that's what we are. SoundCloud, all that good shit. All my other podcasts. For Nick Horaceck. Oh, go support independent wrestling, too, because that's cool. That's where this whole thing starts from. Because what is wrestling if not for bingo halls and small high school gyms, minor league baseball stadiums, all around the world. This is the purest form of this entertainment medium. So I figured if you love this medium, why not? You don't always have to wait for the big show to come. I guarantee you, no matter where you live, there is somebody trying to put on a wrestling show within reasonable distance to you. So if you're looking for
TJ Perkins, become WWE Cruiserweight Champion wrestler, he was put a lot of time, a lot of miles on the road, a lot of years on independence, and
that's off. That's where you never know who you might see on the independents, where they're going to end up one day, and you can say you saw them when. So again, go support independent wrestling. So for everybody here at Slamcast and the Retro on Limb Network, for Nick Horaceck, for Broken Michael Burhan, for Tom Shaw, Miguel Leon, for everybody else, I am Brendan Liggan saying go forth and spread beauty and light. Peace, love, and humptiness. Let's play my theme song. I'm going to go out of here. Smoke some more.